our inventory management is more, I would say, let's say basic, meant to, hey, we don't have a full system and we can use it. It does some specific things that are related to the lab that would help in terms of tracking inventory at site. So I have my demo system open here. You guys should be able to see it. Um, we can define the material types generally, right? So we can define a list of material types, a list of materials. All of that is fine. In terms of the setup that we have, when you define a specimen and you define a test and a panel, we usually are able to define collection and testing containers. Those are actually materials, right? So if you define a collection container for urine of a cup, let's say, that is actually a material in our material list, right? So could be the e-swab. For that, it's a sample container. We have the swab is a material. They're all materials when it comes to these collection kits. And what that helps us, it helps us to work with them when it comes to the site inventory and when we receive samples, right? Because when we receive a sample, when a sample is accessioned and then you receive it, we know the collection container. Therefore, we know it's a material, and we know the number of those collection containers received, and that helps with tracking the inventory at site. So if I go in the client manager, these are all of the clients. We can do the what we call the supply monitoring for all of your clients. So the supply monitor allows you to see for all of your sites and all of your materials to see how much inventory there is in stock, how many samples were received, and how many kits were sent. And obviously, the in stock is just math from your starting quantity, your kits sent minus your samples received, and this math is done automatically, and it allows you to see how much in stock you have a client has for a specific material, and this you can then send them more materials, right? So there are color coding based on the resupply threshold that you can set for each client and each material, where you can say, hey, if it's below 10, I need you to warn me. So what it does, if it's 10 or less, it'll be red. If it's 20% plus the threshold, it will give you like an orange color. So that way you can see where you need to resupply, and it's easy to resupply. You can see a history just expanding that particular. So this is for Kathy's site, and these are the swabs for RPP. We can see how many we sent and when. So we send 10 here, we send 10 more here, and therefore we send 20. We've received one sample. Therefore, there are 19, and you can actually see the samples that have been received for that particular kit and material. So here I can see that this requisition I received it, the data was received, and I can see where the sample actually, the status of the sample, if it was resulted or not. So that gives you a situation at each of the sites. So for those kits that are more expensive and you want to track, you can actually track, and clients can actually request supplies, and when they make a request for a supply and you fulfill that request, that will show up in this history here. So you can it will calculate it and make sure it is being added to the total. You can always send you can send more kits and record them that you've sent. You can specify how many you've sent. So let's say I send 100. It asks me to choose from the inventory and the particular inventory for that material, because these are swaps for RPP. It shows me how much I have in stock. I'm sending them 100. It will show me how much left I will have in stock once I perform this action and I send it, right? So this way you can choose which inventory you're sending and make sure you have enough. And you can if you're there and you say here, it says, well, I have 175. If you look on the shelf and you say, well, there's not 175, it's actually 200, you can adjust and you can say, you know what, I actually have 200, and you can put a comment, whatever. You can say I received more, right? Whatever it is. So now it will up the quantity. So now I have 200 currently in stock. I'm sending them 100. I am left with 100 of these swaps for RPP. So I showed you that here now, because I am on the swap for RPP, I can choose an inventory. This is just an inventory number that you see here. We just put the number to be like this. So it would be whatever inventory barcode you have. So you can actually use a gun to scan it if you're there. I'm not gonna send them, but that will update the inventory to 119 here. Um, so this is simple to manage it at the site. I'm gonna go to the and show you how you can create these inventories. Obviously, if you do the QuickBooks integration, we talk about it, that will happen automatically. But I mentioned to you we can define material types. So these are the different types of materials: QCs, collection containers, sample containers, storage boxes. All of these you can define as many material types as you want, and we have this storable flag. That means we can, which is kind of wrong here, but this is, you know, to flag that we can store samples in it, and obviously you cannot store samples in a glove. This would be more like for boxes and racks and things like that. um, but you can define all of the material types in here. Then in the materials, you obviously define the list of materials, right? So everything that can be a material. This is where very granular with the different reagents, with the different kits, with the different collection containers, but everything that you use. So it's just a list of materials. We have a warning level. This is where we can set up emails to go out, or periodic emails to go out to show you when you're close to your warning level in terms of how much you have in stock, right? Um, then we also have a flag that uh, tells us if clients can order them from the portal. So if this is checked, there is also a disclaimer that you can put there, would allow your clients to select and place a supply order from the client portal, right? So the way that works, and I can show you that in a second. They say I want 50 more kits. They select that, and then your supply manager receives an email, and they can go into the system and say that they fulfilled that order, and then it will put a tracking number, and you'll increase the inventory at site. I'm going to show that in a second, but this is where we define these materials and their properties, units, and so on. So once you have all of this defined, we do, I'll show you the actual place where you manage these inventories and where you see, right? So we have the inventory manager is pretty straightforward. You have all of the locations, and we can manage these locations, right? So could be if you have a central location, or you have a couple of labs, each lab will have their own location, and then you can go granular and be, as you see here, I have my Fort Lauderdale location, we have a freezer room, and we have a minus 80 freezer in that room, right? So however, how much granular you want to be with these locations is really up to you. It can be everything in one room. You can go to the freezer level. You can go to the shelf level. You can define these locations. When you want to see an inventory in a specific location, I know I have here. I can just go to my molecular location. Uh, Okay, I have here, and this shows me all of the inventories I have in stock, right? So it shows me everything. I have the inventory ID. I can search. I can go in. I can search by the uh, things here that we have just from the quick search that you're familiar with from other applications. We also have an advanced search here where you can search by different things, by the lot number, by the location, and so on. So it gives you a more advanced search in terms of the materials, and it gives you all of the properties, the inventory. It gives you the lot number, the carrier, there was the purchase order if you need to. So all of that information is available in here, and you can actually register new inventory. And these are the things you can post: the material, obviously. Let's say it's a COVID antigen kit. You specify the location, how many you have, right? One in each. It's like each one is an individual one, right? You can specify lot, carrier, way bill, purchase order, expiration date, or open date. So these three fields here, they work. Some expirations start when you open the package rather than when a fixed date, right? So the expiration date is being calculated from the open date. That's why you can say when you open it, and then how many days after open date, in how many days after the open date it will expire. The status, and here you specify how many you receive. So if you receive 500, I'm not gonna do 500 because there's just way too many. 10 COVID antigen kits, and then who owns them? Molecular owns them. You want to print individual labels. You don't want to print individual labels, and this will create 10 COVID antigen kits. And now I have 10 antigen kits added into my bioprocessing here. I can go and I can search for, let me use this one. I can go in and I can say antigen. I can search all of my antigen, and this brings me the 10 that I created, and I had one before, right? So they're in the system now, and I can use them. That's kind of it. The components here, if you have a kit, you can actually manage kits where you have inventories within inventories, right? So you have a kit with 5 tubes, and so on. We can track that as well to say this particular kit has this. We used to use this a lot for, and with other systems that we have for clinical trials, where you actually send, you track more the kits and the tubes inside the kit, and you receive them. You need to be very granular there. They're in the clinical trial space. That's high level. The other thing is we have a feature here that you can check inventory across your different locations. So if I'm, let's say, in working in Detroit, and we have another location in, let's say, Miami, then you can check location. You can check inventory at the location, and you can request them to ship you inventory from that place. And then when you receive it, that's this is you'll search for that, and you'll request them to ship you. And it's also can be used if you have a centralized location, and they ship to the individual locations, right? So you have a main place where everything goes, and then the labs will ask you for, hey, can I have 50 of this? Can I have 100 of that? This is an internal request, right? You already have it in stock in your central location, and you're requesting it, and you're requesting it. And when you receive it, you scan that you've received the inventory, and you will just scan the inventory IDs when you've received them, and specify where you place them. So that's what these two functions are: the order, the check, order, and receive, right? This is where you would order internally.